Hello and welcome. Today we're going to learn some basic concepts about Python. And if you have installed Python correctly, you should be able to find this IDLE application. The icon might be different on your machine, but you'll be able to find this IDLE application. You just open it and it'll open an Python shell. Okay. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And as I've taught you already, that Python is an interpreted and compiled language. So it is semi-interpreted and semi-compiled. So we can actually interpret the code line by line if we want to. Okay, so for example, if I want to declare a variable, we'll learn what declaring a variable is, but if you do it, you'll be able to see that the code got interpreted, and if I print it, you'll be able to see the output in the real time. However, that is not how we generally make programs, and I'll teach you that too. But this comes quite handy when I want to teach you something. So I'll be using both the methods back and forth. Okay. So we're gonna learn about data types. So you can think of data types. Uh, let me teach you by an example. Okay. So for example, if we have to build a house, we need to learn about workmen. Okay. We need different types of workmen. We might need a paint guy, an architect, so on and so forth. And if we know what we are building, we'll be able to hire people according to our needs. And that is exactly what a data type is. A data type basically defines the type of data we're going to use. So it tells the compiler that this is the data that we're going to use, and the compiler assigns the memory according to that. Okay. So let's learn about few data types in Python. So the number one data type is number, which basically includes integers, floating point numbers, unsigned integers, and so on. We'll learn what these are. Okay, so let's learn what integers are. So integers are basically negative and non-negative numbers, but these do not include fractions. Let me give you an example. So here, this variable num is actually an integer because it saves the value 10. And floats are basically which are used to save decimal point numbers. Let me give you an example. Okay, so okay, 9 is fine. So this is a float. Why? Because it saves a decimal point number. Okay, we'll learn more about these as we progress into the course. But the next data type I'm going to teach you about is a character. A character is basically used to save all the alphabets and the special symbols and all the symbols that our language accepts. Okay, so let's learn this by an example. Let me define a character. So this is a character. Okay, if I print this, you'll be able to see. So this has a data type of character. Okay, fine. So the next one is string, and string is nothing but a combination of characters. Okay, so since we have only one character, it's a character. Okay, but let's see, we have a name. Let's say Google. So since it is multiple characters which are together, it's called a string. Okay, I hope that is clear. And don't worry if you don't get it, we'll learn more about these as we progress into the course. Okay, so now we need to learn about the structure of a program. Okay, so let me switch to the other view I was talking about. This is the shell. Now I'm going to switch to uh, where we are actually going to write our programs. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go to file and click on new file. Okay, then we're going to start writing our Python code. Okay, first of all, I need to teach you about the structure of a Python program. Okay, what a Python program is, how is it structured, what does it contain, so on and so forth. Okay, now let's have a look at the structure of a Python program. Okay, so we're going to read about these four things right now. That is comments, statements, expression, indentation, and blocks. So 5 things. Okay, so expressions give us values. Okay, these can be values which are given to us directly, or they can be an expression which is later evaluated to a value. But remember, an expression always gives us a value. It always evaluates into a value. Okay, whereas statements are instructions to the computer. Okay, it's instructions that make the program do something. The difference between the statements and the expressions is that statements tells the program to do something, and expressions evaluates into a value. Okay, so expression is evaluated, statement is executed. That is the difference. So for example, here the a equals 15 is a statement, but 15 is an expression because it's a value which is directly given. Similarly, here a minus 15 is an expression, but b equals a minus 10 is a statement. Okay, so that is the basic difference between these two, and I'll teach you all this with an example too. Now, comments. Okay, so comments are basically information for the programmer. So this has no effect on the program, it just increases the readability of a program. Okay, so for example, you learn programming through this course and you become a really good Python programmer, and one day you make a software which is so good that Microsoft wants to buy it. Okay, so when you sell this software to Microsoft, they'll be able to read the comments in the source code and able to figure out what your program is doing. Okay, that is basically the use of comments. Is okay. These are not at all necessary in a program, but it's a good habit to include them. Okay, so there are two ways to make a comment, and I'll teach you what those are. But let's see what functions are. Okay, and this is just a basic overview of all these concepts. I'll be teaching these in much detail as we progress, so don't worry. So here you see this cu, it's called a function. Okay, so these are basically small snippets of code that are reused. For example, you're making a calculator app and you can make different functions that will do different things for you. For example, addition. Now, it will be too tedious to write an addition statement every time you want to add two numbers. Like for example, if you need to do 10 calculations, you'll have to write 10 statements that add the number. So basically functions get rid of the redundant code. Okay, now blocks and indentation. As it is evident from the name, a block is basically a group of statements which are related or which have the same scope. We'll read what a scope is, but all you have to remember is a block has the same indentation and it starts with a colon. Okay, so that's all you want to remember for right now, and it will get clear as we move ahead in this course. Okay, so these are the basic things, and indentation is how you group a block. Okay, indentation helps to, like in Python basically, otherwise you can use in other languages, there are different ways, but in Python indentation is really important because it helps the compiler to figure out which is a part of a block and which is not part of a block. Okay, so indentation in Python is really important. Indentation is basically this gap you're seeing here. This is called indentation. Okay, now let's look at some examples. Let's see all that we have learned through few examples. Okay, so basically an expression. So an expression is basically, this is an expression. Okay, this is an expression. A statement is something that tells computer to do something. For example, 20 plus 15. So what this is doing is this is adding these two numbers, which is an expression. This expression is evaluated to 35 and the value is stored in the A. Okay, so it is telling the compiler to store the value into the A after evaluating this expression. So that is why this is a statement and these are the expressions. Okay, so if you can see, this statement here also contains an expression. Okay, let's see another statement. So Now this is printing something. Okay, so this is also a statement because it tells compiler to print something onto the console. Okay, I hope statements are clear to you. Okay, so comments. Now coming to comments, you can add comments in a Python program by starting your line with a hash symbol. Okay, so this is a comment. Okay, no matter what you write here, it won't affect in any way. Okay, so it doesn't matter what you write here, it won't affect the program in any way. It will only be increase the readability of the program. Okay, now what if I want to write like a lot of stuff in a comment? Like for example, one line is not enough. You see, if I start writing in the another line, this is not a comment. Why? Because it does not start with a hash. Okay, so if you need to write multi-line comments, you'll be using this operator. Okay, now this is a comment. So this is how, like, you can write as much as you want. This all comment. Okay, so this is a comment. We need to save this before we can run this. Okay, let's save it here. Okay, so this is executing, and you see it printed something. It didn't print any of this. It didn't print this because this is just an expression. It does not have a print statement. The only print statement we have is here, and it prints something. I can also tell my program to print the value of the a which we saved. Okay, let's see. It prints the value of the a and it prints something. Okay, and these are comments. See, these are not reflected anywhere. I hope all this is clear to you. Now let's learn what variables are. So you can think of variables like boxes in which you can store stuff. However, this is not exactly how Python stores the variables, but it makes it easier for our understanding. Okay, so in Python we define and declare a variable in the following way. Okay, so you need to give the name of the variable. It could be anything, but it should follow the rules of the identifier which we learned in the first lecture. Okay, then you give the assignment operator. So this equal to sign is assignment operator, and then you assign the value. So now here you declare a variable which is a, and you assign it the value 10. Okay, you don't have to specify the data type explicitly yourself. It is done by the Python itself depending on the value you are assigning to the variable. If you want to know what is the data type of the variable, you can simply type use this function. It will return you the data type of the variable. Let's run our program and see. Okay, as you can see, it didn't print anything on the screen, and that's because we have not used the print function. Okay, so when we need to print anything on the screen, we use this print function. Now let's run our program and see what happens. See, as you can see, it is a variable of class integer. Now let's see what happens when I do this. See, it becomes the variable of a type float because it's a floating point integer. Okay. Now the one last thing you need to remember is that Python programs are evaluated from top to bottom. So what do I mean by that is that the program first goes here, it evaluates this, it executes this statement, and then it executes this statement. What does it mean is, if I write this statement after this, it's gonna throw me an error. Let's say. So it says name error, name A is not defined. That is because we're using A, but the compiler does not know what A is because we have not defined it yet. That is why this needs to be on top. Okay. And the other thing you need to remember is that expressions are evaluated based on the order of precedence. We'll learn more about this, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, now let's make a simple program that adds two numbers. So let's say our first number is 10, second number is 20, and how we're gonna save the result in a variable called c. So if you have followed what I've taught you till now, you'll be able to figure out that this is a statement and this 10 is an expression. This is an expression, this is a statement, and this is a statement, and this is an expression. Okay, and then this is a print statement that prints the output on the screen. Let's see what happens when we run this. See, it outputs 30, which is the sum of a plus b. So that is it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Do let me know in the comments if you like the video, and do write to me on different platforms so I could connect better with you. Okay, thank you all for watching.